On a quiet morning in Phoenix, Arizona, a deadly heist unfolded that would leave authorities baffled to this day. On November 29, 2004 at about 10 a.m., Robert Keith Palomares, a 25-year-old armored car guard, was shot to death outside of a movie theater. $56,000 were stolen from the vehicle and a man was seen escaping on a bike. 20 years later, the alleged perpetrator, Jason Derek Brown, still remains at large. Jason was listed on the FBI's top 10 most wanted for 15 years, and hundreds of tips were submitted on his sightings. What happened to Jason Derek Brown? How can someone just disappear? How did he commit the murder? And most bafflingly, how was he never caught? Jason Derek Brown was born on July 1st, 1969, in Los Angeles, California. Jason was known for living lavishly and showing off his alleged wealth before disappearing. He would frequent clubs where he would charm people with his smooth talking and quite successfully built up an image for himself. He had a master's degree in international business and was involved in selling golf equipment before the crime. Before the 2004 heist, Brown was known for various financial scams. One of the most notable scams involved his operation of a fraudulent scheme where he convinced people to invest in fake business opportunities. He presented himself as a wealthy businessman, using his charm and connections to prey on people's trust. It appears that he may have used his golf business as a cover for fraudulent activities. Jason was fluent in French and a member of the Mormon Church, which led him to travel to Paris, where he was part of a mission with the church from 1991 to 1993. After returning from France, he started distancing himself from the church, and that's when his criminal career began. There isn't much information available on his parents, but 10 years before Jason allegedly committed the crime, his father was reported missing. His car was found near the border with Mexico, and he was never seen again. He is still listed as a missing person by the state of California. In an interview, an FBI agent who was working the case at the time spoke to Jason Brown's sister Jamie as she recalled the day of his disappearance. According to her, Jason was a mirror image of her father, both described as sociopaths. Their father's girlfriend at the time called the sister and told her that her dad hasn't been home for 2 days. She then decided to go over to his house to try to figure out what might have happened. Upon arrival, both her brothers were present at the house. They were moving out stuff from the house and were throwing their father's clothes in the dumpster. She questioned what was going on, to which they replied, "Dad said that if he isn't home within 48 hours, he is not going to return." When talking about this, the sister explained that the brothers showed no remorse and carried on their conversations as usual. This led her to believe that they either killed their dad or that they knew where he was and therefore were not worried about him being gone. To this day, no one knows where Jason's father, David John Brown Sr., is. Let's go back to the day when a life was cut short and a man disappeared into thin air. On that morning, on November 29, 2004, it is believed that Jason fired 6 bullets at Robert Palomares. 5 of the bullets hit his head. Upon arriving at the hospital, Palomares was pronounced dead. During the same month, Jason had purchased a .45 caliber Glock pistol and took an instruction course at a gun range in Salt Lake City. Brown's instructor stated that he was an obnoxious student and inexperienced with firearms. The motive for the crime was deemed financial, as Brown was known to live a lavish lifestyle and had an interest in expensive cars, motorbikes and boats. By 2004, however, he had racked up debt. In order to maintain his lifestyle and image, he needed to acquire money by any means necessary. Right after Jason escaped on his bike, eyewitnesses from the scene recalled him being Hispanic. The police found the bike stashed away a mile from the crime scene, and when they ran the fingerprints in a database, they could trace it back to Jason Derek Brown. By the time authorities were able to frame him as a suspect, he had already left Arizona for Henderson, Nevada. There he swapped his BMW for a black Cadillac, which he took to Orange County, California, to stay with his relatives. The FBI had successfully tracked Jason Brown to the residence in Orange County where he was staying, and issued an arrest warrant. Something that complicated this process, however, was that the senior management at the Phoenix Police Department wanted the locals to know that progress was being made on such a high-profile case. This alerted the suspect, and when FBI arrived at the location where they were expecting to find him, he had left, less than an hour before their arrival. The FBI were able to track him further due to his credit card being used at gas stations. There is no guarantee that Brown was using the credit cards and could have been a tactic to deceive officials on his whereabouts. Nonetheless, according to this clue, he was headed towards the Mexican border, and then later to Portland, Oregon. After this, Jason Derek Brown was never officially seen or heard from ever again. In an attempt to cover his tracks and evade capture, Jason reportedly arranged for his brother, David John Brown II, to assist in his escape. David was involved in the process of helping his brother by storing or handling the vehicle that Jason had used for his getaway. Authorities eventually linked Jason's brother to the vehicle, which was a crucial piece of evidence in connecting him to his brother's criminal activities. The arrest of David Brown, however, was not based on direct involvement in the murder or robbery, but rather on his role in aiding his brother's escape. According to reports, the golf bag sent to his brother in a seemingly innocent gesture contained a hidden surprise. Inside the bag, investigators later discovered thousands of dollars in cash that had been taken during the robbery. This discovery raised suspicion about Brown's activities, especially as it appeared to show he was attempting to conceal the proceeds of his crime and avoid detection. The FBI has received hundreds of tips from the public on Jason Brown. None of those leads could lead to his arrest. One of the tips submitted was by an old friend of his who apparently saw him at an intersection. Jason was allegedly waiting on the lights when he made eye contact with said friend. He then proceeded to speed away, running the red lights. It was never confirmed whether authorities believed this to be real, but they updated the photos on their website on what he might look like now to match the description of the sighting, that being long hair. There have been many more sightings, which isn't surprising considering the amount of tips submitted to the FBI. Some of these have been encounters in as far as Europe and Asia. This isn't surprising, as Jason had been mistaken for other people before. He had an uncanny resemblance to actor Sean Penn. Apparently they looked so much alike that one of Sean Penn's body doubles was arrested by authorities on the suspicion that he might be the suspect of the case. It's unclear whether Jason is alive. Detectives had hoped for him to show up during the years due to his rich lifestyle. Nightclubs, for instance, were of interest as they thought they might find him there, but to no avail. The easy solution as to why he's still missing is that he is deceased, although as of today, no unnamed remains that have been returned and examined have matched that of Jason. His sister believes that he still remains at large and that he might be hiding in plain sight. The FBI agent who worked the case stated that it is likely that he gets help from the LDS Church to hide internationally. The sister also stated that before his disappearance, he asked her about her plastic surgeon. He had previously never shown interest in stuff like that, so it stood out to her. It's possible that his appearance has changed since he was last officially seen. All of these theories are possible. I personally think that he got help from a plastic surgeon to alter his appearance. If the sightings of him were real, he surely must have taken notice of those and wanted to never make that happen again. Whether he still resides in the US or if he moved abroad is debatable. Judging from his past actions, such as the sighting in Salt Lake City, it's possible that he stays close to his family and friends. Given the fact that his brother served prison time due to him cleaning the getaway car, I would find it unlikely that he would do that to his brother and then never see him again. It's also not certain whether he lives just in one place or more. He could very well live in the US, and when something, such as a sighting or any suspicions about his identification arises, he might travel to Canada, for example, as he is fluent in French to get away from the authorities. This is also assuming he is still alive. With this case, however, there's not much else than guessing and assumptions. As we reflect on the chilling events of November 29, 2004, it's clear that Jason Derek Brown's story is one of contradictions. A man who presented himself as successful, charming, and living a life of luxury, yet beneath the surface, he was a man desperate to escape his growing financial struggles. His decision to rob an armored car and in cold blood take the life of Keith Palomares was one that would haunt not only his victim's family, but also the nation. The reality is, Jason Derek Brown's fate is unknown, at least for now. What we do know is that his story remains unsolved, a haunting reminder of how even the most calculated criminals can slip through the cracks, evading justice for years. As law enforcement continues to pursue leads, the mystery of what happened to Jason Derek Brown may never fully be answered. But for those who knew him, and for those who have followed his case, the question remains: who is he now, and where is he? Until we know the truth, one thing is certain. Jason Derek Brown has become a symbol not just for the crime he committed, but of the enduring question of how even the most dangerous fugitives can vanish, leaving only the memory of their crimes behind. As the search continues, the hunt for Jason Derek Brown is far from over.